morning.
Good morning.
One of the longest running shows in the history of American popular culture was The Lone Ranger. Known for his black domino mask, coat of honor, and horse named Silver, The Lone Ranger attempts to eradicate violence and reminds all of the value of human life. At the end of each episode, mission completed, one of the characters would always ask the sheriff or other authority, who was that masked man? Well, this morning, I have the pleasure of introducing one of Montgomery, Alabama's Lone Rangers. While he does not wear a mask, he is certainly a fighter for justice and educational equality. Mr. Anthony Brock is a native of Montgomery, Alabama, and a graduate of Sidney Lanier High School. He has received 2 degrees from Alabama State University and is currently a doctoral candidate at the University of West Alabama. He was employed with the Autauga County school system for 13 years. During that time, he served as head football coach at Prattville Junior High and at-risk specialist for the Autauga County Board of Education, assistant principal at Prattville Elementary School, and principal of the Second Chance Alternative School. Anthony Brock was also the last principal at St. Jude Educational Institute in Montgomery. Mr. Brock has been awarded numerous awards to include Montgomery Advertiser, the Martin Luther King Jr. Spirit Award, several awards from the NPHC fraternities and sororities, and was selected as an Alabama Bright Light by Alabama Power Company. Most recently, Valiant Cross Academy, which was co-founded with his brother Fred, was awarded by Forbes magazine and the Gas Foundation its prestigious $1 million Gas Prize. The Gas Prize is known as the Pulitzer of Education. So ladies and gentlemen, after the video is shown, the next person to stand before you is Detangi's husband, a father of 2 beautiful daughters, Noah and Jonah, a proud member of Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated, a co-author of the book and the executive producer of the PBS documentary entitled Fruit, a featured educator in Brian Stevenson's HBO documentary True Justice, a fellow church member at St. Paul AME Church, and dare I say, my friend, the head of school at Valiant Cross Academy, Mr. Anthony Brock.
Valiant Cross Academy is an all-male private school located right in the heart of Montgomery, Alabama. We like to say that we're on the most historic street in the world, which is Dexter Avenue, because of what took place on the street. Fast forward to 2023 right now, we are educating African American boys and boys of color, who we believe are the most amazing kids anywhere. At Valiant Cross Academy, it's very important to us that we blend faith and culture. Culturally relevant teaching, we think that it's very important that these young men are celebrated and that they feel comfortable in their skin. And so we also have an African American male museum downstairs that we are celebrating the contributions of African American males throughout the years. It's important that they see those representations because it matters. And so that's part of the confidence building that we do here at Valiant Cross Academy. So the uniqueness is the staff. The staff at Valiant Cross is a group of loving people, loving individuals that go the extra yard.
Last year, don't say that. This year, folks, I see your growth. But it's time to get more, man. It's time to move more. It's time to stretch more.
Love you, man. Love you, sir. Love you, David. Love you. It's important here at Valiant Boss to tell them that we love them. All of our young men here at least 3 times before they go to their first class. You know, that means no matter what happened the day before, the night before, somebody's going to affirm you every single morning. We make sure that that's one of our non-negotiables here at Valiant Boss. So the work we do at Valiant Cross, we oftentimes say it's life and death. Right now, the temperature for African American males here in Montgomery, not just Montgomery, throughout the world, we have to get it right. We have to get it right. There have been times where we've had some of our young people who've lost loved ones, homicide rate here in Montgomery. And we've also lost one of our original 30 to homicide year 3 here at the school. He's tragically murdered at home. It's just important that we give them the structure and the foundation and the education that they need so that they can be productive citizens one day. And so every day we have to approach it with that.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning. You're just a little bit better than that. Good morning. Good morning. All right, again, my name is Anthony Brock. I feel like I just spoke at AUM not too long ago. Something I can't remember what it was. I think education day. All right, so again, my name is Anthony Brock. I'm from Montgomery, Alabama. Thank you guys for having me this morning. I'm going to start out by just talking about civil rights. Civil rights is the guarantee of equal social opportunities and equal protection under the law, regardless of race, religion, or other personal characteristics. Examples are voting, trials, and the rights of public education. To me, civil rights is standing in the gap for African American males. If everybody can pause for just 1 second and think about what is that thing that makes you wake up in the morning, that bothers you. There's something that you may see on the news, something that God may have planted inside of you that makes you upset every single day. Well, that's where your purpose lies. I just take down notes and I just kind of talk, and I'll have some time at the end for questions and answers. But what is that thing? For me, in a city like Montgomery, where we have about 200,000 residents, we are averaging about 70 homicides a year or more. Over 90% of those homicides are African American males against African American males. And that bothers me because I am 100% confident that God created us in His image, just like everybody else. I'm 100% confident that we are creative, we are naturally brilliant, we are smart. So why is what we're seeing in the streets of right down the street here in Montgomery is happening? Like that can't be real. So my brother and I wanted to stand in the gap. That's what civil rights means to us. Standing in the gap, starting Valiant Cross Academy. My father was a long-time educator here in Montgomery. He's a principal. He's a pastor as well. He passed in 2022. He's a great friend with Dr. Patton's father, Farrell Duncan, who was my pastor for years as well. So we are lifelong friends. But so education just kind of runs through my veins. My mom is a retired teacher as well, so that's all I know. I wake up in the morning, I was thinking education before I even knew what I was going to school for. My sisters were educators, my brother's co-founder of the school. So I went to Lanier High School in Montgomery, then I went to Alabama State University. It was at that time that I realized that everybody did not have what I had at home, which was a solid family structure. When I would visit homes with my friends over the years, I just really kind of felt the need to give back at one point in my life or at some point in my life. So I started working in the Talbot County school system right out of college, and I started a mentoring program like my 3rd or 4th year because I walked by a young man who was asleep in the hallway. His name is Terrell. And I always tell Terrell's story because Terrell was asleep in the hallway. The teacher always put him out, but when I finally started talking to Terrell, I found out that he was taking care of his siblings at home. Mom was working 2 jobs, dad was not around, and he was getting put out of the class. And also, that's where Terrell had a stage. So Terrell would come to school and act up sometimes. He would act out. He struggled in reading. And so God told me, He didn't ask me, He told me, He said, you're going to have to start mentoring these young people. And so I said, you know, from the normal 7:30 in the morning that teachers come to work to 3:15, that's not cutting. So I started a mentoring program called Brother to Brother and Sister to Sister, still in existence in Prattville. I have a couple the guys that are still working that program, but that was my most meaningful work because it was at that time that God planted the seed for what you see at Valiant Academy. I just had no idea that I would ever have the opportunity to start a school there. So fast forward to me getting my master's degree, I became an assistant principal, worked as an at-risk specialist, which I hated the name at-risk specialist because it's just a label. And I rather call, I was a pupil personnel director, but I changed the name because all of us in this room are at risk of something. We just may not have the same factors or that other people have, right? So you may be living in East Montgomery and maybe you have access to pills that kids on West Montgomery don't have. So, this is very important talk because at the heart and at the root of everything that I do every day, it's about love. It's not about race, it's not about your religion, it's not about your political beliefs. We love each other, we can see the hearts of each other, and I think that the world will be a lot better place. And I truly believe that. I'm so happy that I worked in a Talbot County school system, which was predominantly a white school system, and now I work at a school for African American boys. It's because the Lord allowed me to be able to work and maneuver in places that others may not have. And it's no mistake that He chose me and my brother for this job to work with African American males because we can freely, as you see, the African American male museum, we can freely talk about the issues and problems that plague our communities while pulling everybody else along and say, hey, they're not what society and what social media and what all these people are saying they are. Come in and just take a look at them, have a talk with these young men. They're just normal kids. When we started school, a lot of people on our board, our original board, went to our mission statement was you're working with at-risk kids, poverty stricken. I was just sitting, and my brother knows he saw me patting my leg, because I have another side to me, right? So but I was patting my leg and I'm thinking, no, we're not going to call them that. We're going to say we are working with some brilliant, amazing young men. So when people come in and they see how these young men are responding, how articulate they are, it's not because it's no magic potion, it's just excellence and high expectations. That's why they're doing that. So we started school, well, let me back up. So I was in Prattville and I was on my way to my teacher retirement. I was in education for 13, 14 years. My last job was I was a principal at the alternative school. While I was there, we put in uniforms, did all the things that we do at Valiant Cross. We kind of changed everything about it. So that was my dream job. So I was able to work with the police. So St. Jude Educational Institute here in Montgomery, the job came open. And my brother Fred went over to become the athletic director. So I started going over to my mentoring program there that year. I was going to set it up, but the director said, hey, what would it be like if both of you came over here together? Like we had both of the Proctors. And so I had to pray about it because, again, I was on my way to the education retirement system, teacher retirement system. And so I prayed and I prayed about it. And so I stepped away. I took a step and a leap of faith because God told me you have to go back and stand in the gap for these young men in Montgomery. You know what it's like to have a solid person in front of you to lead the way, which was my father. You know what it's like. And you see these boys are hurting, so you don't have an option. Like retirement, we'll take care of that later on, but right now you have to leave. So I went to St. Jude here in Montgomery. PTA was galvanized, alumni was all excited, our athletic programs were booming. In 1 year, we put a lot of technology in the school, and then at the end of the year, the school closed. Of all the years St. Jude has been around, the role it played in the civil rights movement, Night of the Stars, with Harold Belafonte, Sammy Davis Jr., all these people were at St. Jude the night before they marched to the Capitol in the 7th Montgomery March. So that drew me to the school. I'm thinking, we're about to have a powerhouse here. And so I stepped out, took a leap of faith, and then the school closed. And man, that was the toughest time in my life. I stepped out, and I didn't have a job. Prayed about what do I do now. And actually, I don't know if you know about the thing, one of the people I talked to during that time was your father, who was saying, why don't you go apply for Lanier? Lanier had an opening, and it was do you go to the State Department of Education, or do you go forward with something that God planted in your heart years ago, which was to start an all-boys school. I didn't have the money to start the school, didn't have any kids to come to the school, didn't have the building, but God gave me this vision. So, whatever that vision and whatever that purpose that God has put in you, which He's put something in everybody in here. Whatever it is He puts in you, that vision, provision always follows. I'm not preaching this morning, but I'm a testament how good God can be when He puts something in you if you just say yes. He doesn't need vessels. A lot of people say God needs vessels. He doesn't need them, but He uses vessels. He doesn't need anything. So it it was just my willingness to say yes that has propelled us to where the school is right now. So in 2014, my brother Fred and I, we actually walked the community in West Montgomery, and we convinced, we begged, and pleaded with 30 families to try us out. So we got 30 amazing young men first year. We started with 30. Fast forward to today, we started with just 6th grade. Now we're 6th through 12th grade. We have 210. We're about to open up our elementary school next year. By the 11th grade, we are putting all of our young men on the track. So we have dual enrollment with Auburn University right now, and also Trinity State Technical College. You have to be on that track, or you have to be on the technical vocational track. We have barbering, we have Cisco networking, which the national CEO, Chuck Robbins, spoke at our fundraiser. He's donated $500,000 to our programming and our networking department, so you can finish with your credential. There's just so many opportunities that we put in front of these young men. The Red Tail Scholarship Program we partnered with, we created a room where they train. We have about 8 or 9 young men. Well, we have some graduates who already got their pilot's license, so we have about 8 or 9 right now in the cohort, because only 2% of pilots are African American males. So that's a road that's traveled. You know, if you go in a room with the typical young men, like myself, even with a father, I was going to the NBA or the NFL, believe it or not. Right? Until I got in the 8th grade, realized there was a guy named Brian Williams that was 10 times better. That's when I retired from basketball. If you go around, you ask them, what do they want to be? I want to be a provider. I want to be an athlete. But that's really not all their fault. I think a lot of that is our fault, because we have not put those things in front of them to let them for them to aspire to. We have to give them those opportunities. So, you know, when you think about civil rights and you think about what it is you're doing, it may not be a civil rights leader, but whatever your profession is, who are those 3 people that you idolize and that you look up to? Like mine are my father, Booker T. Washington, and Benjamin Mays, right? And so what does that have to do with what I'm talking about now? You have to study your craft. Like I wake up, those are my best friends right now. You know, this is one of my father's old messages, and I love James Baldwin too, by the way. So whatever it is, or whoever it is that you aspire to be like, or you have that person you can aim to emulate, and study those people, do character studies on them. You should always have those 3 people. You should always have a book that you're reading that's going to make you better every day, outside of just the Bible. But have something that you're reading. I know I'm preaching to the choir here, because I'm talking to a lot of educators already. The 3 things that Life and Valiant Cross Academy for that connect us to civil rights is the empowerment of African American males. Again, if you go and come to our school, you see pictures, and believe it or not, it's non-threatening to anybody that comes in there. But all you see is pictures of great African American men and leaders throughout the years who have come before us and done those great things. We believe with faith, high expectations, and then teaching them who they are. I know the big in the news right now, the governor's signed the bill against diversity, equity, and inclusion. And so, to me, I have a problem with it, to be honest with you, because I don't think you should rob anybody of their history, who they are. And it's a way to do it to restore dignity. I'm preaching to everybody here, but it's a way to do it to talk about the contributions that they have made. Because if you rob them of that, and if you don't teach them who they are morally, and I'm a Christian, so with Christ, if you don't teach them that, then you're going to have young men who are out there in the streets, who don't value their lives. I can take your life because I don't value mine. So we need to be equipping them with the greatness that they've come from. And I build them up every day. Like they walk through a tunnel of pictures at our school, and I love them to see these pictures, because if all they see is the guy down the street, or parents and fathers left them, what do we expect? And so education this is such a big problem right now in Montgomery that if we don't fix it, you can't run further enough east. I grew up in Montgomery Mall. For those who are from Montgomery, I grew up there. And then Montgomery Mall's closed, and it moves further and further to the east. So we're going to have to stop and fix the problem. We can't say, listen, not only do I not want you to know who you are, parents are not, again, I'm not judging anybody. Parents aren't taking kids to church. They're not teaching me these morals that at one time they were teaching. If it worked back then, it works now. And so we do it with a lot of high love. We tell our guys like 3 times a day that we love. But love does not mean all good and fluffy feelings sometimes, right? It means somebody that can tell you when you're doing wrong or slap you on the hand without slapping you on the hand. Number two is promoting education as a tool for change. So we have a very rigorous setting. Even our teachers are really training hard. We do 2 weeks of professional development before the year. All of our teachers are observed weekly, so they're not just doing the 3 times a year dog and pony show. We know that the supervisors coming in, they're getting observed every week, and they're meeting with our principals. I was the principal at once, but now we have 2 principals. They're meeting to go over the roles and flows. These are things that are going to help you. So we've created a rigorous co-laboring environment as well at Valiant Academy because education is so important. My father grew up in the Tulane Court Housing Project, and I'm a prime example of what education can do for a family. There's a generation later, his parents have died at an early age, and they had to decide whether or not we dig in, get an education, or let the state come split us up. And they chose education. And so now they have a generation of doctors, former vice presidents at universities, because of education. So I'm the prime example of that. And then upholding dignity. I believe we have to restore dignity in these communities. We are also opening over on Oak Street, which is on the Civil Rights Trail, we're opening a literacy center, which will actually be a bookstore and coffee shop. But we're going to have tutoring programs going, so anybody who knows anybody wants to volunteer tutoring, or just coming out having a conversation. Because of this bookstore and this literacy center, it's next to a place called King's Canvas, if any of you know Kevin King. But it's become a hub, so you have people who are coming that would never come to West Montgomery, and everybody's sitting down and having a conversation. And you realize that we really have a lot of things in common. We can really benefit from each other, and that's the importance of creating those types of spaces. My last thing, and then I'll take some questions. I'm going to ask you, what is it that you are committed to? What's your life in the problems? I don't want to call them problems. I want to say opportunities, right? So what is your lot in life? Is it about you coming to work every day? I know that most of you work at AUM. Is it about coming to work every day, go home, take care of my kids, and then I go to church, or we go on our family trips, or as we pass through this life, is it something that God put inside of you? Benjamin May said all of us are uniquely, and I'm paraphrasing this, all of us have something in us unique that we are supposed to do. And if we die without doing it, it probably won't get done. So what is that thing that you need to be committed to now? And that's my challenge to you going forward. And I think commitment, and I tell this story everywhere, because I just love to honor my father, and I always do it. So I'm an arborist as well. I'm an artist. I just had an art show at Huntington College, so I just started painting, by the way, since my father passed. But I paint a lot. I had the opportunity to do a show. I'm just a prime example of how God can push you forward. And I've just become a contributor writing for Forbes magazine now too. And it's all because of the work that's being done at Valiant Academy. But back to my story, this is my father's ring. Ever since up until I was about 8 years old, my dad cut my hair. And when I came to 8th grade, I started cutting my dad's hair. He always tell me, come over, you give me that call and say, hey, Anthony, don't forget about me. So I was always going to cut his hair once a week. He wants to keep his hair. He said, nothing like a gray haired man with hair all over his head, so I always had to cut it. So when my father passed, we were at the funeral home, and they're saying, well, who's going to cut Dad's hair? So I was just sitting there looking, and I noticed my mom looking at me. She said, you're going to cut it. So I was at that moment, I was thinking, no way in the world I'm going to do this. Like, my dad is my best friend, he's my hero, he's all that. So I wrote all the way home, and I cried like a baby. I'm not a crybaby. I rarely cry, but I cried all the way home, but I thought the word commitment came up at that time. It says, be committed, be committed. So I woke up the next morning, and God just gave me the strength to go do it. When I was cutting his hair, I was crying like a baby while I was cutting, leaning over. And that's when I had this ring on. If I had not gone right then, I would not have got this ring, and that's my dad's ring. But the word commitment, whatever it is that you're committed to. If my mom called me right now, she said, I want you to go over right now. Dig it up, dig your dad's grave up and cut his hair, I would do it. Because that's the level of commitment that it takes. And that's what we're teaching these young men. No excuses, no explanations. You have to get it done. I believe we were put here as men to cultivate. I believe we were put here to cultivate the area. What's happening right now is because we don't have men in the house. And men in the house does not mean you have to be living with mom, but it does mean you have to be in that child's life. And so we are unapologetic for raising God-fearing men. We're going to be great husbands, great fathers, to great husbands to one wife, and we talk about that all, and great citizens in the whole job. So that's it in a nutshell. I really appreciate you guys having me, and I'll take any questions.
We have a microphone so that we can hear the question. So who would like to ask a question first? And I can bring the microphone to you, and then we'll pass it around.
Thank you so much.
You'll hear me too?
It's very impressive what you've done here, and it's such a great cause. Does your school have support for parents, for maybe mothers, or, just the family unit? Just curious.
Yes, we do. I did not talk about a lot of different things that we have going on. So we have a service component of our school. You saw from the video, we partnered with Ken Austin, who I think is one of his speakers, I'm one of his board members as well. Any young man or parent that needs food, needs clothing, or we can help them get shelter, they put a few of our young men up in the houses before. So we do have some really good wraparound services. We've also, at one point, partnered with the Samaritan Counseling Center for all types of grief counseling or whatever they need. So now we have a counselor on staff. But yes, anything that they need, we try to provide for them. And we have the best room involvement system anywhere, because we all walk out for dismissal and we get to talk to our parents. We don't have buses, so everybody has to pick up one way or another. So we get an opportunity to talk to the parents.
Good morning. Thank you very much for the work that you are doing. I personally appreciate the work that you're doing at Valiant Cross. I just want to know, what do you think, that you're doing at Valiant Cross that we can take and implant into some of our other schools? Or is there an opportunity for, some folks to learn from what you're doing in other places?
Yeah, well, what worked for me in the public schools, which I never say anything bad about our public schools, I'm a proud graduate, MPS, very proud graduate, great graduates throughout the years. But I will say, the way we start our day out, the same way I started out when I worked at public schools. A lot of the young people are coming in with so much baggage and dealing with so much trauma that if you can get them first thing in the morning and reset them, then 9 times out of 10 the days will go a lot better. And then we do that every time they change class periods. Our young men do 1-minute meditation, they do a prayer, and each teacher has their own affirmation. It's almost like tied in the first part of your class period. So that's it in a nutshell. There's really no secret formula to it other than getting committed adults in the building. And when they're not committed adults, it's being a career counselor and saying, you may be a great person, but this is not the best place for you to go on the wrong bus. So that's something that we have the luxury to do that sometimes other places may not. But if you're not for the kids, then you will not make it. You won't be there long.
Thank you so much. I'm also a proud graduate of MPS. So I've been a high school teacher. I've worked in education a long time. The thought of starting a school is kind of mind-blowing. Any stories about what you've learned? I mean, I know you had such a variety of roles, but still, how did it go, starting a school from scratch?
It was definitely a challenge. It's always a challenge. But again, I say opportunities. Because when you think about it, you start the school, you get into your second year, or you may get into your second week, or 5 years down the road, and you realize central office was not really that bad, because you had somebody to help you make decisions, and all the other things that you realize you're out on your own. So it's really about surrounding yourself with good people, and you have to always look for the best. I just told one of our best teachers right now, the AUM graduate. He was your SJ president a couple years ago, Mr. Carter, Stephen Carter. So if you have any other graduates, we're hiring for kindergarten, first grade, and we're also hiring for any of the subjects for secondary. But everybody that has come our way from AUM has been on board. So thank you.
Again, thank you for coming and sharing. I'm in education, along with a lot of folks here. And I also do research, so really the only time I have to be able to become involved in community efforts for education outreach would be during the summer. So this is kind of a personal question, but do you have a website or some way for interested community volunteers to become involved?
Yes, thank you for that question. So it's valiantcross.org. And my email, you can email me directly, is anthony@valiantcross.org. But we welcome volunteers. We do have the young men through the summer for one purpose or another. Some have to make up credits. We get them now. We didn't at first let them come in unless they came in the 6th grade, and now we're receiving young men in the grade area. So we are always needing tutors. Yeah.
Can I ask about, so you mentioned you have some graduates from AUM who are doing excellent work, but I'm wondering sort of, I can imagine a person who has a good heart and they want to work in a space like this, but they're maybe not prepared for what it means to actually to do the kind of commitment that you've been talking about. And I'm wondering, so what are the character traits that you look for in an ideal teacher in this space? And then what do you see in terms of sort of the learning curve in terms of what it means to actually do the work and to do it well?
Yeah. So we do have teachers who are not certified. If you have 18 hours in that field, like this math, you have 18 hours you can teach at Valiant Cross. We are accredited through Cognitive, so we can receive those, because I have my certification as well, but you don't have to have certification. We do an in-house 2-week teacher training before the year that we require them all to come through. I did mention as well, one of the things that winning this jobs prize that we recently won, we are in the process of also creating a Center for Urban Education at Valiant Cross, where I'm interested in talking to AUM as well. I already talked to Alabama State, and I talked to a few people at Faulkner. So while they're going through your program, they can come over and not do an internship, but really do a deep dive into culturally relevant pedagogy and really how we teach. So I'm interested in forming that, and I'm also interested in recruiting more Black males to the field. So we are looking for grants and opportunities to offer Black males in high school the opportunity to go to colleges and get paid. But I look for somebody with grit, somebody who has that stick-to-itness, somebody that has that personality, that persona, and does not mind doing whatever it takes to reach a child. I really, it bothered me throughout the years as I worked, and educators would gather in the teachers' lounge and talk bad about young men or young ladies as well. I really need positive people who are going to learn how to positive frame things as well. But if you have the skill, if you don't have the skill, but you have the will and the mindset, we can get you the skill. So if you have that growth mindset, you have to be open to feedback, or you will feel like you're being attacked at Valley Cross. But if you're somebody who's open-minded and you realize that this feedback is to make you grow as a professional, as a teacher, then it's a place for you. But again, if you have the will and the mindset, you can usually catch up with the skill.
Thank you so much for coming. Everyone else said it, so I want to say it too. You've talked a little bit about the Center for Urban Education and the Literacy Center, both of which seem like upcoming projects. I was kind of curious if you could talk either more about those or more about future goals you have for your school and your students.
Sure. So if you go to Valiant, without an S, book.org, we have our Literacy Center website up and running. Right now it's almost finished. So we're not going to be selling books. We're not selling coffee. You can come get a free cup of coffee. We have books on display with another book that will be behind the scenes that you can kind of check out as well. We'll also have a lot of local artists, authors coming through, reading their books, doing their book signings there. But the biggest portion of it is going to be the Literacy Center. So we're going to be recruiting young men and ladies, young men and women from MDS schools that are not at Valley Cross that can come through in the afternoons. Sometimes come through 2 hours in the evening. So we'll need as many volunteers as we can get. We'll be purchasing also some web-based programs so that we can kind of track their data as well as their absolutely. And then what was the other part? Future plans.
Yeah.
So we're actually considering branching out, and the 2 places we're looking, possibly Tuskegee and Jackson, Mississippi. So we've had a lot of interest from different cities. We've had interest from charter organizations that wanted us to switch over, but I did not want to lose the faith-based component of what we're doing as well.
Thank you.
All right. I see.
Are there any more questions? Please join me, oh, sorry, here we go, one more question, sorry.
And if you want to volunteer for the literacy center, how do you send that to you?
So on that valuebook.org, and I'll give you my email as well. You can email me direct to Anthony@valuecross.org. Leadership Montgomery is really helping us with this project as well. So that's their class, most recent class for the project. So we have a lot of volunteers for this.
If there are no more questions, please join me in thanking Mr. Anthony Rock.